Hey guys, welcome back to Life Untangled, where we.
Why you gotta?
Because it's the show host.
The intro line that he doesn't know.
It's my little swaggy point to you.
It's our godly platform where we evolve, inspire, and share all our transparencies.
And I am Casey with
Shane,
my beautiful co-creator.
Gracias. Thank you. Hey guys.
And in this video, in this podcast, we are going to talk about a very interesting, serious topic, and revolves around high functioning autism or Asperger's.
Yep. Just what he said.
So in this video, we're going to talk about it's going to be maybe a 2 or 3 part video, but this video is mainly going to be about how do you cope and deal with your child who is high functioning and has Asperger's, and what are some tips, especially in this video, in this podcast, nutrition.
Basically, it's going to focus on nutrition.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't sound like it tied well the way you described it.
Okay. In this video, in this podcast,
a little extra.
We're going to focus on the nutrition habits and what are some nutrition tips for your child who has high functioning autism
or
Asperger's. I'm looking to Shane because she, in my opinion, is a 1,000,000,000% expert in this topic. She's a psychologist. She has
I do tons of research
and information that it's so much that this can't be all contained in one video. So we probably have several videos after this regarding the fact.
Yeah, because there's a lot of intricate subcategories that you can dive into when it comes to elements, suggestions, tips, books, audios, podcasts, things that will just help you to navigate whatever you're dealing with and having to experience when you first get diagnosed with your child, or if you already have a child or children that have Asperger's or autism under the umbrella.
Okay. I'm going to be asking the expert here.
Not an expert.
She's my expert. Some questions, and I may know the answer to these questions. You guys may not know the answer, so hopefully this helps anyone watching this video or listening to our podcast on the ins and outs and the intricacies, my fault, of a child with Asperger's. It's a very challenging and interesting topic,
and one that's dear to us, which is where we have to focus on. It's dear to us because we have our child who we've had to navigate and help him to, better develop in a lot of areas so that he's able to be dependent and not codependent on certain things,
So the first question is, why should you care about your Aspie child's nutrition in the first place?
One of the main reasons you should care as a parent, whether your child has or is diagnosed with a clinical, I don't want to say disease, but let's say just a clinical setback of any kind. Our job is to help them understand their capabilities, their functions, how they can better do for themselves. And it goes hand in hand with different areas, from nutritional to their development to understanding their body, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and we've discovered over our son is 15, so we discovered when he was 5, 6, 4.
No, he actually we kind of took notice right around 3.5, and
Yes.
then that's when we said, okay, something's not lining up properly here with his, repetitive behaviors, with his echoing, with him repeating things he hears, and then we got diagnosed. A diagnosis for him right around 4.5.
Okay. Yes. So, just a little small backstory. We started to notice things after he got vaccinated, which is a whole different topic. But for us, we started to see a shift.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first shifts that we seen is that I remember, the Pixar cars. He literally had like the whole collection. However, he would line up the cars according to colors and body style.
And in perfect alignment.
And like literally like perfectly straight. And for a child who was like 3.5, I've never seen it. And I know every child is different, but to see the level of detail that my son was doing, I was like, wow, like he's a genius. I've never seen a kid just line up like 20 cars perfectly. You could put like a T-square and it's like perfectly straight, color in like reds, blues, yellows, greens. I was just thinking, man,
actually,
that's amazing.
It was more intricate than that. It was like oranges, red. No, it was like yellow, oranges, reds. Like literally like the rainbow.
Yes, exactly. So,
and not taught that at all, just through.
And we kind of like, he would get super upset if anyone touched his stuff. If they moved the sequence out of order, he would just blow up. And that's when I, for one, I was oblivious. I think Shane had a slight clue, but she couldn't quite, pin the nail.
Yeah.
So, it just laid in dormant for a year. And then when we relocated to LA, we were at a function. We brought our son. And a friend of mine's friend was there who's a psychologist. And that's when
we kind of hit it off. And she was across the room looking at our son. And she came over and introduced herself. And she just kind of said, hey, do you know your son has Asperger's? And I was like I literally was sitting in a high chair. I remember it, like one of these bar stools. And I was like, say that again? He was like, he's an Aspie kid. And I was like, how did I forget that? And I literally, we chit-chatted, her and I, for quite a while. And it like that had went over my head because I was thinking autism, but he didn't show a lot of the traits to that. And when she just said that, I ran over to Casey and I was like, babe, I just met, I was just talking to, our friend, her name is Brittany. And she brought up Asperger's and he's like, what in the world is that?
I thought it was a different type of burger, to be honest. I was like, where can we get this burger at?
And I explained to him, that's under a similar umbrella, but the traits are a little bit more, they're just slightly different, but they still share similar characteristics and traits.
Right. And, to be honest, and we may go into a deeper story. I know I, for one, was very distraught because, being ignorant, you think your child is perfect. And then when you discover that they're not perfect and there's something different about them.
A developmental, yeah.
For me, I was like, it's all over, man. It's over. And my wife had to guide me through everything. And then, once I got over that hump, it was just research mode, trying to, gain more information, knowledge, and what can I do to be a better father and help my son overcome the mountain of challenges that, he soon had to face, from like 4, 5, 6, 7 up until now. And the absolute key thing which I believe is the foundation is nutrition. you got to start and develop their nutrition ASAP. So we're going to go over a couple of nutrition tips, what we feed or what we've fed our son over the years, how
he's reacted to it,
how we trained him,
how we retrained his mindset, because a lot of it too is being consistent, creating that routine for them, and putting yourself as an example. Because if you're not following that example in your own lifestyle, your child is not gonna agree with you or even attempt to try something.
Exactly. So what are some of the, from when he was young, single digits, let's just say 4, 5, and 6, we always try to introduce healthy choices in foods, and right out the womb, he loved fruits. This is one kid, I know it sounds impossible. He doesn't like cakes, pies. He just started eating cookies, but if he had a choice of watermelon or cookies,
he's going straight for the watermelon.
He's going for the watermelon, devouring it. Or if he had a choice of cakes and cookies or grapes, taking the grapes 100% of the time.
The whole bowl.
So,
in that aspect, we were blessed with a child that at least enjoys fruits.
Right.
But it goes deeper, with having the challenges to teach your child to have a more open palate to trying more vegetables or even cakes, like that was a challenge going to parties with him.
Yeah, like he never,
we had to constantly take our snacks in Ziplocs for him, or
yes,
little BPA containers, BPA free stuff.
Absolutely.
So it presents its challenges, but like he said, it's offering tips on the nutritional aspect, which is what we're touching on today.
Right. And, for one, for the parents who are parent of an Aspie child, you guys know, for the ones who don't know, texture is an absolute issue for those children. Something in their mechanism, for us, oatmeal is good. For them, oatmeal is like eating liquid brains. We don't. No, I'm just
trying to make an example.
But
they have hypersensitivities. That's all it is. Their sensitivities are more heightened to things than per se, the next person. I don't want to really title a child being average or above average. They have their sensitivities when it comes to textures, clothing, sounds, which is why you see a lot of children under the autism spectrum wearing a headset, because their ears are sensitive to loud noises. Some of them, not all. Others may have areas where the tag in their clothing, has to be tagless because it bothers their skin or their body, or what else?
Sometimes
foods, like you said,
textures, even the noises, like, they may eat something and that noise, that crunch disturbs them, and they're just like, no, I don't want to eat nuts because that crunchy noise might not like it. Yeah. So you have to be aware of the textures, but you also have to be aware that an Aspie child develops sometimes unhealthy habits, and you have to for us, we had to make sure our son is very, very adaptable in all situations to overcome challenges. And if they continually eat the same foods, what if they're in a situation where that food isn't available? Are they going to starve?
Like on a plane.
Exactly.
If you're going on a trip somewhere, you have to be, prep ahead of time and teach your child as best possible how to deal with these situations, how to face them.
Yep. And to continuously try, not to give up, because I know, we've given him certain foods. I can't even count how many times. And he's like, nope. In the beginning, he spits it out.
Like broccoli.
And then he'll start chewing. like that, and then all of a sudden he starts eating it, and he's like, "Hey, this is pretty good." And it's just we just
Finding
kept
different
going
ways to cook it,
exactly.
different ways to present it. So like you said, it's an important factor not to give up. Trying to encourage them to put a step forward. You know, you trying it in front of them or cooking it a different way. Maybe they don't like it steamed. Maybe they might enjoy it sauteed with a little bit of fresh garlic, like broccoli and some sea salt. Some kids might like it raw, just washed off. So it's just finding the easiest way to facilitate them and to encourage them to continuously try something until eventually the next thing you know, they're like asking for it.
Exactly. And also trying to keep adapting. No, I said keep adapting their palate, but not giving in to their tantrums, because they can sometimes be explosive, and you're confused, you're like wondering,
And they have
like,
a hard time. It's not confused. They do have a
no, I said you're the parent is like,
well,
what am
yeah.
I doing wrong? Or
And that's any parent. That's a given. Whether you have a child that has any kind of health setbacks or illnesses, you're going to have your challenges. It's just fine tuning and finding what works best and what doesn't. But with our kid, for instance, the tantrums, when they put them out, it's kind of like knowing quickly how to set out the fire. Or like, did I say that right? How to put out sorry guys,
I was like, set out the fire.
Yeah, I haven't eaten my food yet, so I'm like digesting aloe vera right now. How to put out the fire without causing the child to escalate, or like, fall into a deeper tantrum. So for us, we have this trick where it's like, he's doing it right now. We've taught him to take deep breaths.
Oh yeah.
We've taught him to, with self-control, like he loves Kung Fu Panda and cartoons and different things. So he finds things like, oh mom, it's similar to Tai Chi, where you have to find like your inner peace. So we find things that he connects to help navigate him through those tantrums in order to move forward.
Absolutely. And key number 1, don't give up. Number 2, be 100% focused on what they are eating, because most people don't even think about it. They're like, oh, it's just a hamburger. Oh, it's just like Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah.
Or, oh, it's just this. But an Aspie's digestive system and gut is completely different from mine and yours. Mm-hmm. So what we can digest is easy, for them it isn't. So you have to really be mindful on the foods that they eat, how they react physically and mentally after they eat those foods, and being able to remove it. Or if they really, really like it, saying like, okay, well, I can't keep giving you this. You can have some French fries, but not all the time.
And teaching them too that it's okay to make substitutions. Like, they're gonna put up a fight. That's any kid. Mm-hmm. It's finding the substitution that works best for that child's body type, what that child's dealing with. So in doing a lot of research, we've learned along the way that many of these illnesses, the main factor in them is inflammatory issues. Yes. So inflammation plays a big role in the gut, in the development of the mind. So foods and wholesome foods are very important on teaching your child why. If they tend to want chocolate all day, a parent's role is to help that child understand chocolate is okay, everything is good in a good balance, but just knowing that you can't eat that all the time every day. And then give them the why. When you learn to sit down with your children and explain these things, it helps them to say, oh, okay, well, this is not healthy and this is healthier for me, so that I don't get an upset stomach or a headache, because different foods cause different reactions in the body as well. Food is very healing. So with us, we try to our kid loves French fries. So we were always like, oh, it's okay to have Wendy's. But in learning and in educating ourselves, we were able to educate him as well that, okay, we're going to have to eliminate drive-through foods because that's unhealthy. You know, it's filled with chemicals and like fats, like oils and things that the body can't break down properly.
To interject, the fast foods is prepared with unhealthy oils, right? So, for example, if they're not cleaning their fryer, like every time they make fries, is cleaned at the end or maybe after 6 or 7 hours, and people are ingesting dirty oil, they're eating canola oil, or peanut oil, and if you didn't know, peanuts contain
huge allergens. Like it causes a lot of people to have allergen reaction, or what's called and I just totally lost the word. Here we go, histamine. It causes a histamine reaction as well in your body. We're not gonna go too scientific on you guys, but it's known to also create, like eating peanuts too much can cause mold, because peanuts are moldy food item. So you may not know, but maybe he's type blood O and I'm type blood O negative or A. And what doesn't react in his body a certain way can react in me a certain way.
Absolutely.
So it's always important too to get tested for food intolerance, because all those things are key factors in what you put in and what it's going to cause.
As well as not overlooking the smallest insignificant ingredient, right? We've come to find out that spices contain citric acid, and I think we're going to leave this link below, but citric acid is the organic citric acid, which comes from lemons, limes, oranges,
berries, most berries.
In the high end, in the low end is pineapple and berries and stuff, but that's good citric acid, right? The manufactured citric acid is made from black mold. Bet you didn't know that. But people are eating this stuff. Citric acid is used as a preservative, right? So if you look at your ingredients and you see you have your spices that has paprika, garlic and all this stuff, and then at the very bottom is like, oh, citric acid as a preservative. You're eating something that your body can't really identify, and hence you get sick, or you get like a skin rash, pimples, however your body will tell you, like, you're eating something that's not really good. And that's just for a regular person. So for someone who is an ASPE, it's even worse. So you really have to be mindful of what are you putting into your body? What are you seasoning your food with? And change it. Just test it. Test everything. And you will see a correlation between the food you eat and if you're afflicted with some sort of illness or sickness.
Find a good substitution. So one example is like our son loves grapes. We never had a problem with grapes, bananas, watermelon. So along the years, we tried really hard to introduce him to like other fruits, which were like a total fail.
We gave him dragon fruit. He was like, I was like,
or star fruit or whatever.
Right. He liked star fruit.
Yeah, he did, because it was shaped like a star. See, that's the thing. It's the oddest foods, and when you cut them a certain way or serve them a certain way. But take, for instance, I learned through a lot of research that blueberries, especially wild blueberries, are packed with antioxidants, things that help the gut, help with, other factors in the body. So I couldn't just stuff blueberries into his mouth. Like, here's a bowl, eat that. Because he would be like, no. But instead I said, well, how can I introduce him to this? And because blueberries look like grapes, I serve it to him in a little bowl, and I would slice them up and hide them in between the grapes. till he caught on and he tried. And he bit into it and he was like, that's not right. And he came over to me and I had to explain, well, does it taste good? Do you like it? And at first I was like, no. But we worked on it and his palate started to enjoy it with the mixture of the grapes. So it's just finding what works best for your child.
Absolutely. So, one, the nutrition, for you is important, but for Aspie child, it's very critical. Finding the ins and outs on what he likes, what he doesn't like, but you not say force feed him, but you have to just not give up. You have to keep testing. Go for it. You have to keep.
Sorry, guys, I have to finish my aloe vera.
You have to keep testing and keep trying him with the foods because eventually he will like it. You have to make your child very, very adaptable.
And you have to be willing to also be the change to see the change. So if you're not implementing these things, like eating, like my husband loves acai bowls and so do I. So that's another thing we started teaching them to enjoy more. Understanding the body, like with fasting, like we don't give our kids 4 or 5 meals or things of that nature. So our kids go that amount of time necessary for the organs and the body to be able to flush out things.
Fasting, she just segued into,
not trying to touch on a different topic.
Point A, B, C, whatever, but part of the nutrition aspect is fasting. So we learned a lot about fasting, but one of the most important things is that when you tell your body, all right, I'm not going to eat from this point to this point. So now your body doesn't have to work on, processing the food and all this stuff. It says, okay, the food that's already in here, now I'm just working on digesting this food. And then let your body digest that food for 12 hours or more. You wake up,
the body and the organs regenerate itself.
It's regenerated. Yeah. And it's less taxing on the organs.
That's correct.
Right? So,
yeah, that's correct. So there's a lot of tips you can try. Like our kids, they don't really drink sodas. It's not that they've never tried it. We have family gatherings, events, and stuff. And we're very honest and open with our kids. So like our daughter, for instance, was like, oh, well, my friends drink soda and this and that. Can I try? What did she want to try? Sprite or orange soda?
I don't recall.
For the first time at a party. And I was like, well, we grew up on it, but we found out, a lot of stuff behind these sodas and carbonated drinks. So we were like, okay, well, go ahead and try it. And she was like, her reaction was like, ew, why do people drink this?
Yeah.
But we explained to them why, the whys and the knowledge behind, what it does to the body. So they're able to decide for themselves. Even growing up, now they're teenagers, they consciously will make good choices for themselves. So like navigate, just teach your children to navigate through life and not just saying, you can't drink that because I said so. Not even an adult, will take that advice as sound advice. They'll just take it as, well, if I feel like drinking it, I'm going to drink it, So
very true. We've
explained to them in depth why certain foods we don't put into our bodies, especially because more and more fast food and all these different industries are just, you hear it on the news, on everything, that people's bodies are not able to keep up with this sort of health lifestyle. And you can, we used to eat, what was it, Doritos and Pepsi and all that stuff. But you notice a big difference in your body, in your energy levels, in your skin, in your hair, when you start to remove certain foods out of your diet and implement more wholesome foods, foods that you can cook at home and enjoy, pasture raised products, non-dairy. We learned along the way, even with milk. You know,
Right.
our kids loved drinking their milk in the morning. Which kid
Chocolate
doesn't?
milk.
Chocolate milk, warm chocolate milk.
But milk contains mucus. Mucus is a key factor in
A lot of health issues.
inflammatory
Yeah, a lot of
disease.
health
And
diseases and
for an Aspie child, you want to keep the inflammation, you know, even for a regular human being, you don't want to be having mucus build up in your organs, so you want to remove that.
Yeah.
But for an Aspie child, it is definitely not the right move.
No.
And we've noticed
keep their
a
markers
big
really
difference,
high.
a big difference in learning,
Communication
energy,
skills.
when you're feeding your child healthy foods that will only benefit them in the long run.
Yes, yes. And it's, you know, it's just saying find what works best for you and your family. But for us, we've seen a dynamic change in our son's communication skills, visual skills, behavior patterns, with just changing the foods that we were giving him, thinking that we were doing right by him, when in technicality we were hurting him. So there's a lot of other things that we can touch in on, you know, like certain vitamins, talking about vaccines, everything, but that we're gonna leave for a different episode or second
part of this. But, you know, just to sum up, you know, learn to really research what food you're eating.
Yes, do the work.
Read the ingredients and just start eliminating certain things, you know,
that's a great point you just said. Start eliminating things. That I cannot emphasize enough. There's a thing called an elimination diet. And if you go to a functional medicine doctor, naturopathic, holistic doctor, even your regular physicians, they talk about elimination diets, which is basically if you're getting an allergic reaction to something on your skin, on your back, wherever a hive or a rash may present itself, eliminating things in order to see if that's what's causing the problem is important. So they usually tell you to eliminate peanut butter or almond butter or whatever your body is ingesting or digesting, by removing it out of your diet for at least 60 to 90 days. That's key in, I believe, anyone when you're going through any kind of health setbacks or illness-related problems.
As well as identifying, and this might be a little bit too techie, but people's genetics make them susceptible to certain foods or allergic to those same foods. An example is in someone who is from Japan, whose lineage eats sushi and fish, right? Someone who is from the opposite end of the earth, who doesn't eat that much sushi or fish, if they keep eating sushi and they wonder why they're getting sick or having some sort of ailment occur, it is because genetically, like, that's not what you're supposed to be eating. Like, an example is, I'm not Mexican, and when I was living in LA, Mexican food is awesome, but I noticed the effect it would give me after I ate it. Then I started realizing and researching, it's like, oh, I think the corn, my body and my family is not used to eating like tortillas and corn and all those type of foods.
So we found substitutions. We found substitutions, like we eat siete, almond and coconut based tortillas, right? And chips.
Shout out to Siete.
Yeah, Siete is a really good company. Food. If you guys haven't heard about it, we ourselves started using it about
a couple years ago.
Yeah, about 5 years ago. Really good. They have dips and chips, tortillas. They came out with other stuff, but I haven't really tried salsas and stuff, and all these things that they make. And they are actually a Mexican family. It's privately owned, from what I read on their packaging. They have created the best tortillas that are pretty much clean, gluten-free, they are not corn based, because their family themselves were having, reactions to eating all this corn, which is when the family came together and said, hey, there has to be a better way for us to be able to enjoy making a tortilla. And they came up with almond, coconut, cassava. So they use different roots, right? Different vegetable roots, and different flours, and tested them until they started on themselves. So they started to realize, hey, I'm not having this reaction in my gut to this food. And let me tell you, like my husband said, shout out to Siete, because they have great products.
So we're gonna wrap this up, but in summary, research the foods that you eat.
Yes.
Research the ingredients in those foods and the spices that you use to season it. Literally, you don't really need all these different spices. You just really need salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of paprika.
Like our family says before he starts acting silly. Keeping it simple.
Right.
Simplicity is the best option, because when you're cooking, you don't need to have 12 million spices on your piece of steak, chicken, seafood. Use, if possible, try and use clean, fresh ingredients like fresh herbs, rosemary, thyme, whatever it is you like to throw into your foods. Simplicity.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Two, 3 spices, herbs, or anything you put on your food will make it that much more enjoyable and that easier on your gut as well. And
learn to unlearn, because some people, and I'm not going to be
like
specific.
I said, be the change to see the change.
But the excuses is like, oh well, this food, like my great grandmother used to make this and this and that. It's like it was a different era. 100 years ago, there wasn't AC, there wasn't cars. People had to walk to work, and people worked with their hands. They literally was just like, oh, I gotta shovel this or move that, and they needed the energy to continue throughout the day.
But now we're different. Now
it's
we're in a car all day, era. Or some sort of transportational
cars, AC, computers,
devices. Even the devices. If we were to dive into that, that's a whole nother thing with the EMF that it puts out. And
that'll be the next video, perhaps. But
there's a lot.
Research your foods, learn to unlearn, read those ingredients, and then test, and
be willing to grow and adapt. Yeah, grow, adapt, change. The world is going at a fast speed, and things that are happening around. So if it's a lot on us, imagine how much it is on our children. So key thing is just seek the knowledge, put in the work, and you'll see the results. You'll get the fruitfulness out of it if you are putting the work in.
And what do you think? Like, do you have any suggestions or tips for us that we don't know? Leave them in the comment section below. And, do you agree with us? I mean, we're not saying we're right or 100%, but, let us know in the comments below any suggestions on nutrition and food that maybe we can use and adopt into our lifestyle.
Yeah, share your comments, your suggestions. We would love to read them, as well as apply them, because we're big believers in trying new things. And we'll leave the links down below so you guys can read up on certain things that we've shared in this video on your own. Other than that,
I think that concludes this video. Once again, thank you for watching us. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe down below.
And don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you can know when our new videos come out. Thank you for joining us on Life Untangled, a godly platform to evolve, inspire, and share all our transparencies. You guys have a blessed one.
Until next time. Deuces. And perhaps you may like this video right here.
Or this one right here.
This one.
It doesn't matter. Just click on one and enjoy it. Thank you for joining us on Life Untangle. And remember, this is